بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we continue going over the tremendous book Aqeedatut Tawheed, the tremendous book Aqeedatut Tawheed by the Fadilat Shaykh Al-Allama Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. We reached the chapter in which the Shaykh he mentions the ruling حكم الانتماء إلى المذاهب الإلحادية والأحزاب الجاهلية, the ruling on joining the atheists and heretical groups or joining the parties of Jahiliyyah, the parties of ignorance or from the days of ignorance or pre-Islamic times and the like. The first section or the first portion is the issue of joining the heretical parties and or systems, methodologies and the like. Before getting into this though, we want to remind that it is incumbent upon the Muslims to be balanced and to be moderate, because the deen of al-Islam is a deen of moderation. Adhering to the sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then this is moderation. So you find the Salafy, he is the one who is moderate. The Sunni, he is the one who is moderate. The Athari, he is the one who is moderate. He is the one who is in the middle. We must remember, as the ulama, they mentioned that the shaitan, he wants for us to go to the extremes. And the shaitan, he doesn't care which extreme we go to. He doesn't care which of the two extremes that we go to, because the outcome is the same, and that is our destruction. The shaitan, he will either try to get us to go to the extreme, like the likes of the Khawarij, the likes of ISIS, Daesh, Al-Shabaab, Al-Nusra, and the like, and those who are upon their way. Or if he can't get us with that extreme, then he'll get us with the other extreme, the extreme of gross neglect, the likes of the Murji'ah and those who are upon their way, who are extremely neglectful as relates to the religion. It is incumbent for us to understand that we don't fight the extremism of ISIS by illustrating extreme neglect. fighting the extremism of ISIS, by trying to prove ourselves to be okay with the systems of kufr, the systems, the madhahib al-ilhadiyya, the ways of heresy. So for example, this as an example from the dress of the Muslim man, we don't prove that we are not extreme like Daesh, ISIS and the like by cladding ourselves in a suit and tie, so as to prove what point? What point is that possibly proving? What message is that possibly sending? Because if that is the case for the Muslim man and those who deem that to be okay, then what do we say about our Muslim sisters? Then they can put on a pantsuit so as to show that they are not from ISIS? Yeah, Salaam. And of course the answer would be emphatically no. And we know the speech of the ulama as relates to the likes of dressing in manners and ways that are particular unto the kuffar, especially when it's a point of choice. Individual is not pressured into this whatsoever, but they made the choice to put on a three-piece suit as to prove what? So there's a coming that we keep the likes of these things in our minds. And of course one may say, but this is just a small example. Na'am, it's a small example, but as we say, if a person is struggling with the small things, and how in the world they're going to accomplish the big things? Ala kulli hal, it is a must that we don't go from the extreme of ISIS and then we run to the other extreme, the extreme of the Murji'ah. Shaykh Tariq As-Subi'i hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions that both of these ways are ways that are destructive. And you find many people fight against the extremism of the Khawarij by going to the opposite extreme, and that is the extreme of neglect. Become neglectful of their religion. Start aligning themselves with methodologies that are foreign to Al-Islam. All of this in the illustration, so as to show that they are not from the other side, the other flip side, the extremists of ISIS, or the Khawarij, or Al-Qaeda, or the like. وَكُلُّهُمْ Khawarij. The Shaykh, he mentions that both of these are wrong. It is enough for the one who is upon the Sunnah to stick to the Sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so as to fight against the way of ISIS, the way of Al-Qaeda, the way of to the end of it, Juyaanee Muslimin, the way of the followers of Sayyid Qutb, the Qutbiyyin, the way of all these ones who are upon the way of the Khawarij. It is enough for us to be upon the Sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam to fight against the way of those who are extremely neglectful, like the modernists and so on and so forth. So it's enough for us to be upon the Sunnah. We can fight against this extreme and that extreme, because that's the only way to fight against the extreme, is by being in the middle upon the Sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because to fight against an extreme with another extreme, then this is of no benefit. To try to clean up evil with evil, this is of no benefit. To try to wash filth away by using filth, this is of no benefit. You just trade out one filth for another filth. You trade out one evil for another evil. You trade out one destruction for another destruction. So there's a coming and there's a must that we remember these things, especially in these days right now. Especially in these days right now, that we remember these things. When you have many Muslims scared to look like Muslims, many women scared to cover, and so on and so forth, we don't go to the extreme of neglect because of the fools and the kilabun nar, the dogs of the fire from the Khawarij, when they do what they do. But rather we have to stay patient, we have to stay in the middle, we have to stay in compliance to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the commands of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to stay upon the Sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even in these days, even in these times of fitna. Ala kulli hal. Al-Allama Al-Fawzan Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, Al-Intima' Al-Madhahib Al-Ilhadiyya كالشيوعية وعلمانية ورأسمالية وغيرها من مذاهب الكفر ردة عن دين الإسلام. The Allama Shaykh Fawzan Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he says, joining the parties of heresy and the heretical parties and the atheist parties, the likes of the Communist Party, joining the communist system, adopting the philosophy of Marx and the like. Likewise, the secularist party. Likewise, the capitalist party. And other than that, the Allama, he brings these three as examples. They are not meant to be restrictive, but they are just examples. He says, joining the parties and the systems of heresy, like the communists or the secularists or the capitalists, or other than that, from the parties of kufr, from the ways and methodologies of disbelief. He said, then joining such, it constitutes as apostasy from the Islamic religion. It constitutes as apostasy from the deen of al-Islam. فإن كان منتمي إلى تلك المذاهب يدعي الإسلام. He said, even if the individual, or if the individual who connects himself to these parties claims that he is a Muslim and he claims Islam, na'am, individual's a communist, part of the Communist Party, but then he claims to be Muslim, or he's a part of the Ba'ath Party, na'am, like the party of Saddam Hussein, the Ba'athis, na'am, the Ba'ath Party. Or he's a secularist, he's a part of the secularist party, or he attributes himself to capitalism and the like. Even if they claim to be Muslim, or if they claim to be Muslim and they claim Islam, the Shaykh, he says, فَهَذَا مِن نِفَاقٍ الْأَكْبَرِ. He said, and this is from major hypocrisy. فَإِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ, he said, because verily the hypocrites ينسمون إلى الإسلام في الظاهر, because the hypocrites, they attribute themselves to Islam openly, or what's on the outside is that they claim Islam. وهم مع الكفر في الباطل أو في الباطن. He said, but they have disbelief internally, inside their hearts. They really don't believe in Islam. Na'am. And inshallah ta'ala will come, the Shaykh, he brings some examples so we get some glimpses into these systems where we see that that these systems are kufr. These systems are predicated and built upon disbelieving concepts. Na'am. So where it is not possible for these systems to coexist with al-Islam. A person can't claim to be a communist and Muslim at the same time, because they are two opposites. Islam is belief, communism is disbelief. Islam is belief, secularism is disbelief. Naam. So much so that the ulama, they say that you have to be careful when you say about a Muslim that he is ilmani. The ulama, they say from them, Al-Allama Muhammad Aman Al-Jami, he mentions that you have to be very careful in calling a Muslim Al-Ilmani. Don't call him that, he said. He said, why? He said, because this constitutes calling him a kafir. Because secularism is disbelief. So by saying to a Muslim, yani, هذا ilmani, then what you're saying in other words is, هذا kafir. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And we have to be careful of this. Why? Because the system of secularism is predicated, na'am, upon atheism and denial of religion. So how can such a system coexist with an individual who claims that he is a Muslim? How can such a system be in the heart of an individual who claims that inside that same heart is belief? It's either going to be one or the other. Na'am. على كل حال, the Shaykh, he says that whoever, even if he claims that he is a Muslim, then this is in reality he is committed major hypocrisy. He says, كما قال الله تعالى, as Allah Ta'ala, he says, وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And when they meet those who believe, they say, we believe. Allah Ta'ala tells us about the reality of the hypocrites. When they meet and when they encounter those who believe, they say, we believe. But when they withdraw to their devils, their shayateen, they say unto them, verily we are really with you. We were just making fun of them. Really, we with you. We were just making fun of them. We were mocking them. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And we have to be very careful, because how many of the individuals who knowingly or unknowingly may fall into something from this, وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Individuals who will say about themselves, oh, I'm not really that religious, and so on and so forth. When they with the Muslims, everything is mashallah, alhamdulillah, subhanallah, yeah, my brother, akhi this, akhi that, Qur'an, yeah, sunnah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to the end of it. But then when they go around, their friends from the kuffar who upon these kafir ways and so on and so forth, and they say, yeah, so and so, they say, oh, it's okay. No, I ain't like them, I'm not like that. It's okay. I'll come to your birthday party. I'm not like them guys. It's okay. I'm not like that. You know me. Well, have to be very careful from the likes of these things. Have to be very careful that we don't find ourselves falling into the likes of these things. We have to fear nifaq. Naam. We have to fear nifaq. Nifaq al-asghar. You find this is the nifaq that will come from a believer. This is the kind of nifaq that bila shak wa bila rayb, we got to be scared of. That type of nifaq from those attributes of the hypocrites in which the Prophet ﷺ told us about them. That when they become angry, they become verbally abusive. That when they make a promise, they break their promise. When they give it a trust, they break the trust, so on and so forth. Now, these are from the characteristics of the hypocrites. Every Muslim has to fear for himself nifaq. The only people who are not scared of hypocrisy are the hypocrites. The only people who feel safe from hypocrisy are the hypocrites. They're the only ones who think, no, I can never be a hypocrite. Only the hypocrites think like that. But the Muslims, they are scared that they will adorn themselves with the characteristics of the hypocrites. Now, that they are scared of this. So we have to be mindful of the likes of these things. Ala kulli hal, the likes of nifaq al-akbar, you don't find that they come from a Muslim. Why? Because the one who does the major nifaq, the major hypocrisy, this is the one who really don't believe in Islam in his heart. This is the one who deep down, he really don't believe in Islam. He really don't believe in Islam. But he believes in something else. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. وَقَالَ تَعَالَى, Allah Ta'ala, He says, الَّذِينَ يَتَرَبَّصُونَ بِكُمْ فَإِنْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فَتْحٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ قَالُوا أَلَمْ نَكُمْ مَعَكُمْ وَإِنْ كَانَ الْكَافِرِينَ نَصِيبٌ قَالُوا أَلَمْ نَسْتَحْوِذْ عَلَيْكُمْ وَنَمْنَعَكُمْ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah Ta'ala says, telling us about the reality of the hypocrites. The hypocrites, they are those who they wait and they watch. They wait and they watch. Naam, they wait and they watch the believers. And if they see that Allah gives to the believers a victory, then they say to the believers, weren't we all with you? We was with you, right? We was with you. But if the kuffar get success, naam, if the kuffar get the victory, they get the success. Of course, we understand that that temporary victory, that temporary success. Because this is how it is in the dunya. Not every day is for us. Some days are for us, some days are against us. Some days are for this nation, other days are for that nation. This is the way that it works in this dunya. This is the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has arranged the affair inside of this dunya. It's not always for the believers that they're going to win. Because see, if that was the case, then what test would it be? The believers always win. Who wouldn't be a believer? Everybody will be a believer. They know believers always win. So sometimes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a test for the believers, Allah Ta'ala allows the kuffar to win over the believers. Now, in his dunya is a test. Allah Ta'ala tells us that He will test us with something from hunger, from fear, from the loss of life, from the loss of fruits, and so on and so forth. This dunya is a test. So the believers, they get tested. Sometimes the believers, they get tested with a loss. Naam, they get tested with a loss, just as those who came before us were tested. So sometimes the kuffar, they may get something from a win. So when that happens, these hypocrites, what do? What's the way of the hypocrite? Naam, what's the way of the hypocrite? Is that they go to the kuffar now and they say, hey, did we not gain mastery over you? Did we not protect you from the believers? Did we not help you in your plot? You see, now they want to join to the side of the kuffar, because their real agenda is just whatever is a win for them. That's their real agenda. They're not really with the believers in reality, because what in their heart, in reality, they don't believe in Islam. They don't believe in Islam. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. فهؤلاء المنافقون مخادعون لكم منهم وجهان. He says, so these hypocrites, they will seek to deceive you from two different directions. وجه يلقى به المؤمنين يعني they seek to deceive you, and they have what? Two faces. Nah, it's a better way to say it. They have two faces. They have a face, يلقى به المؤمنين. They have a face in which they meet the believers with. It's the face they show the believers. ووجه ينقلب به إلى إخوانهم نعم من الملحدين. Then they have another face in which they meet their brothers from the atheists and the heretics with. So they show the believers a face, then they show the heretics another face. Naam. They show the believers a face, show the heretics another face. And bila shak, we have to have consistency inside of our actions. The way we are when we are in front of the believers inside of the Masjid should be the exact same way we are when we are alone by ourselves. The way we are when we are our Muslim brothers and Muslim sisters, for the sisters, is the same way that we should be when we're with our Kafir family members, or the way that the Muslims are when they're with their companions at work, or their colleagues at work, rather is a better term, how they with their colleagues at work, and so on and so forth. It's the same way they should be. They shouldn't be acting one way at work and then they come to the Masjid, they're a whole other person. This is not good, but this is from the way of the way of the hypocrites. So we have to be careful from adorning ourselves with the likes of the characteristics of the hypocrites that they have. Showing the believers one face, showing the kuffar another face. The Shaykh says, وَلَهُ لِسَانَانِ, and they got two tongues. أَحَدُهُمَا يَقْبُلُهُ بظاهره المسلمون وآخر يترجم عن سره المكنون. One of them, we accept from you hear from it the apparentness, and that which is apparent from the Muslims. There's some one in his speech, but then the other speech that they have, it translates the secret that is the secret that is hidden. In other words, it translates what's in his heart. Because the individual, as the ulama, they mention that they can't hide their filth forever. Individuals, they can't hide their filth forever. But eventually it will slip out. Either it will slip out on their tongue, or it will slip out from a glance of their gaze. It won't hide forever, but eventually it'll slip out. Their real self come out eventually, even if they try to hide it. Naam. So you find that their secret will be translated upon their tongue, whether they want it or not. It'll come out. It'll come out eventually. And then the Shaykh, he brings again the ayah, وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا. And when they meet those who believe, they say we believe. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. And when they meet with their devils, they say, no, verily, we really with you. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. Rather, we were just making fun of them. We were just mocking them. فَقَدْ أَعْرَضُوا عَنْ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ وَالسُّنَّةِ. So you find that they turn away from the book and the sunnah. Na'am. This is from the way of the hypocrites. You find that they do what? They turn away from the book and the sunnah. Even though they claim Islam, you don't see the book and the sunnah having an effect upon their lives. You don't see this being that which governs their life. Na'am. So they turn away from the book and the sunnah. استهزاء بأهلهما وَاسْتِحْقَارًا. They turn away from the book and the sunnah, making fun of the people of the book and the people of the sunnah, and out of ridicule, ridiculing the people of the book and the people of the sunnah. وَأَبَوًا أَنْ يُقَادُوا لِحُكْمِ الْوَحْيَيْنِ. And they refuse to comply to the rulings of the revelations, of the two revelations. meaning the book and the sunnah. Now you find that they refuse to comply to it. They refuse. You may bring them something that they're doing in opposition and so on and so forth, and instead of saying astaghfirullah, I'm wrong, this to the end of it, they try to bring an excuse. Well, you know, brother, we live in modern times right now, it's the 21st century, to the end of it, wa'iyadu billah. They find a lot of excuses why they do what they want to do. Farahan bima indahum. Shuf, the Shaykh, he says, Farahan bima indahum min al-ilm الذي لا ينفع الاستكثار منه إلا شرا واستكبارا. The Shaykh, he says, and they are happy with some knowledge that they got from themselves. That type of knowledge that it doesn't benefit them to have a lot of it, or that type of knowledge that an abundance of it does not benefit, except in an increasement in evil and in arrogance. Now, that's all it does. And Allah musta'an, how often do we find this being the case? Those who have the highest degrees from the interdisciplinary systems, they have the highest degrees from the interdisciplinary systems. It could be in medicine or subjects rather. In the interdisciplinary subjects, whether it be medicine, whether it be engineering, architecture, or whatever. But you find a lot of times, wa'iyadu billah, they be the most arrogant, and they be the ones who think they know better. And you find little compliance from them when it comes to implementing the deen of al-Islam. Very little compliance from them when it comes to implementing the deen of al-Islam. Wa'iyadu billah, there was a professor, right, and some know who he is, and he know who he is, who was given to the rhetoric of the Khawarij, those who make thawrat against the Muslim government, those who make revolutions against the Muslim rulers. And we used to have a lot of conversations trying to give him da'wah and the like. And he was from the Arab. So alhamdulillah, I put on for him a lecture from Shaykh Khalid, Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Masri, where he was refuting the methodology of the Khawarij and showing how making these tawrat against the Muslim government, which is not from the way of al-Islam, and so on and so forth. Mind you, this man is a professor, very, very intelligent individual in his own mind, right? In any event, I sat with him and we listened to the whole of the lecture of Shaykh Khalid Abdul Rahman. And at the end of it, he looked at me and he said, you know what? The Shaykh is right. Can't debate it, the Shaykh is right. He said, however, the methodology that the Shaykh he mentioned and he laid out takes too long. Takes too long. So still, in other words, what? Okay, you're right, but I still want to do what I'm going to do. I'm still going to do what I want to do anyway because your way take too long. Subhanallah. What is this? And he deems himself to be one of the most intelligent of the people, but that's what we say. He deems himself, because if he had real intelligence, then he would comply with the book and the sunnah. And he would know that way that he think is faster, it doesn't last, it doesn't stick. It is from corruption, it spreads more corruption. It doesn't bring any real fruit, any real benefit. You may see change, but it's because the situations get worse real fast. You don't see any real lasting change. You see change because the ruler you didn't like, okay, he may be gone, but then the situation as a whole becomes worse. But he's just looking at, but the ruler is different, right? Yes, but the situation now is worse. The economy now is worse. How much blood has been shed? How much property has been lost? How many women have been raped? How many children have been accosted? How many old people have their rights infringed upon? How many people now have gone to bed hungry and are starving, and situations are really bad right now? All you see is the ruler is different, and you deem that to be a victory, and you call that intelligence? This is why we say he deemed himself intelligent, but in reality was that he's not really intelligent. And this is what the Shaykh mentioned. They have this type of knowledge that it doesn't increase them in anything except for evil and arrogance. Because how arrogant is that to say, nah, the Shaykh is right, but it won't take too long? Ya Salaam. Ala kulli hal. The Shaykh he says, تراهم, and this is the haqq, فَتَرَاهُمْ أَبَدًا بِالْمُتَمَسِّكِينَ بِصَرِيحِ الْوَحِي يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. The Shaykh he says, and you find them always making fun of those who stick to what? Who stick to the revelation. They always make fun of those who stick to the revelation. Naam. Because if we look back at that man's statement, naam, he's right, but you know what? That take too long. Is that not but an indirect mocking of the Shaykh? And not just the Shaykh. Naam, not mocking the Shaykh, mocking those who stick to the Sunnah. But this is him what? Mocking the methodology of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's mocking the methodology of what a Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because what the Shaykh he was mentioning was not from himself, was not from his own intellectual pursuits, but rather he was what? He was quoting the haqq, he was quoting the true stance, the true belief, the true methodology from the book and the Sunnah. And this is why it was filled, the speech of the Shaykh, it was filled with ayat from the Qur'an, filled with a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, filled with mentioning narrations from the Sahaba and Atba' Tabi'een and the Imams of the religion and so on and so forth. What? Because this is the way of Al-Islam. But according to him, now your way is not efficient enough. Yes, but your way is. But you got something that is more efficient than what Allah Ta'ala has revealed, more efficient than the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal? Of course not. So you find this is the haqq. They always be making fun of the people who stick to the religion. They always make fun of the people who stick to the religion. But Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, He says about what? He says, hey, now we gotta pause. We don't want no one there into believing that I'm saying that professor was a hypocrite. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he was a hypocrite. I'm just bringing him as an example to show the mentality of these individuals. That makes sense? That's clear. Don't want nobody to say, oh, the brother said he was a hypocrite. No, I'm not saying the professor was a hypocrite. Allah knows what's in his heart. Can't say nobody's a hypocrite because we don't know what's in their heart. You understand? If a person brings nifaq al-amali, then we say, okay, yeah, he's bringing characteristics like a hypocrite because he got mad, he got verbally abusive, he made a promise, he broke his promise, so on and so forth. But we understand that we're not saying he's a hypocrite, right? So I'm not saying he's a hypocrite. Allah Ta'ala knows what's in his heart. I'm just saying that he has been twisted and he has been duped and he has been deceived by what he has gained from this worldly knowledge. That was the point. That was the point. Now, ala kulli hal, about the hypocrites, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Allah yastahzi'u bihim wa yamudduhum fi tughyanihim ya'mahun. Allah Ta'ala, He says, what translated means, Allah in reality, because remember the hypocrites, they say, when they say to their shayateen, oh, we really with you, we were just making fun of them. We were just making fun of them. So Allah Ta'ala, He says, the hypocrites, He says, rather Allah mocks them, but rather Allah mocks the hypocrites and increases them in their deviation to wander blindly. Now the hypocrites, rather they are the ones who are mocked and they are increased in their deviation and they wander blindly. وَقَدْ أَمَرَ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى فَإِنْتِمَاء إِلَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Allah Ta'ala, He commanded us to join the believers, to connect ourselves to the believers. Allah Ta'ala, He says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. O you who believe, fear Allah and be with those who are صادقين. Be with those who are truthful. Be with those who are truthful, truthful in their belief. Be with those who are true believers. Be with the believers. Now, the Shaykh he says, وَهَذِهِ الْمَذَاهِبِ الْإِلْحَادِيَّةِ مَذَاهِبٌ مُتَنَاحِرَةٌ. He said, in these heretical ways and systems, they are contradictory, meaning they contradict each other. They are at odds with one another in reality. لأنها مؤسسة على الباطل, because they have been built upon falsehood. فالشيوعية تنكر وجود الخالق سبحانه وتعالى. The communists, they deny the existence of a creator سبحانه وتعالى. وتحارب الأديان السماوية, and they fight against the divine religions. You understand? This is communism. It denies the existence of a creator, and it fights against the divine religions. The divine religions. How is it possible that an individual could be a Muslim and then say he's a communist? How? When communism is predicated on the belief that there is no creator. It's built upon atheism. So how can one claim Iman and atheism at the same time? He's a believing atheist? Does that make sense? Or he's an atheist who believes? Either way you put it, it doesn't make any sense. It's not possible. It's not possible. Now, وَمَنْ يَرْضَى لِعَقْلِهِ أَنْ يَعِيشُ بِلَا عَقْلٍ. The Shaykh, he says, and it's and the practitioners of it are those who they are pleased for their intellect that they live without عفوا نعم ومن يرضى لعقله أن يعيش بلا عقيدة نعم. And they are pleased, the practitioners of communism, the communists, they are pleased to go with their intellect and to live without a belief, to live without a creed, to live without aqidah, to live without a belief. نعم. وينكر البديهيات العقلية اليقينية, and they deny the clear, irrefutable intellectual proofs. Those proofs that are certain and clear, they deny them. They deny them. Naam. As Allah Ta'ala says, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Were they created from nothing, or are they themselves the creators? Naam. This is a clear intellectual proof. We know we weren't created from nothing. Naam. We know it wasn't created from nothing. We didn't just pop out of nowhere. And we know that what? We didn't create ourselves. So the only other option is what? Is that we have a creator. That's the only other option. This is a clear-cut proof, but they deny that. They still say, nah, there's no creator. Na'am, wa'iyadu billah. So the Shaykh, he says, فَيَكُونُ مُغْلِيًا لِعَقْلِهِ. So in reality, he is one who lives, for lack of a better term, who turned off his intellect. He's one who has chosen to live devoid of an intellect. Na'am. So this one, he cancels out and negates his intellect. This is communism. So how can a believer claim to be a part of such a system? With ilmaniyya and secularism, tunkiru al-adyan, secularism, it denies the religion. It denies religion, religious expression, religious freedom, so on and so forth. One looks at France. France is a secularist society. Right? It's a secularist society. This is why they fight against people showing their religion in public. This was their reason why they fight against the hijab, women showing their faith in public, because they say they are a secularist system. A secularist system is a system that is devoid of any type of religious display, any type of religious display. This is what a secularist system is built upon, right? وتعتمد على المادية التي لا موجه لها. And they rely upon materialism that has no direction. This is the system of the secularists. No religion, right? Everything is just worldly. But as we know, these type of things, it has no direction. These people, they don't know whether they're coming or going. نعم ولا غاية لها في هذه الحياة إلا حياة البهيمية. And there is no purpose for such a life, there's no goal for such a life except that they will accomplish the life of an animal. They will accomplish an animalistic life. And those people who are given to secularism, we find this is their way. They are obsessed upon materialistic things. They're obsessed upon materialistic things and so on and so forth. And we look at them, their lives are in chaos. They have no direction. They don't know they coming and going and so on and so. They're just all over the place. No direction. Not sinning at all. How can such an individual claim to be a Muslim and then claim to be a secularist at the same time? How is it possible? Secularists, they deny religion. Everything for them is about dunya, 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 or about materialistic things. No direction. How can a Muslim claim to be a part of such a system? Wa'iyadu billah. A system that reduces its practitioners to living like animals. Wa'iyadu billah. Ra'simaliya and capitalism. وهما جمع المال. نعم. Capitalism and likewise secularism. It's all about collecting money. من أي وجه, from any direction, however way they can get the money, that's all they about is getting money, getting richer. That's it, just getting richer. ولا تتقيدوا بحلال ولا حرام, and they are not restricted to halal and haram. They don't look to what's permissible, what's not permissible. They don't care. They're just trying to get money. Naam. Look how many in this capitalistic society, how many people claim to have reached their fame and fortune by starting out doing haram stuff. Whether they started out selling drugs or robbery or some kind of haram syndicate. This is what they used to do. Then they took that money and then they flipped it and they laundered it. That's what they did, right? They laundered it and then they invested in quote unquote lawful investments, and then they become million. But they tell you, well, I made my first million on the corner. Made my first million selling drugs, and then I invested it in this, I invested in that, and then I this, and then I bought from that, and now I'm a millionaire. And everybody claps their hands and he did such a good thing, but you missed the whole part where he said he got his first sum of money from selling drugs. You missed that part. No one cares about that. That's okay. Subhanallah. But this is the way you see the people when they have this capitalist system. This is the way they don't care. Whether it's halal, whether it's haram, so on and so forth. How can a Muslim claim to be a capitalist when the system is predicated on such? وَلَا عَطْفٍ وَلَا شَفَقَ عَلَى الْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, and they don't have no mercy and nor any pity on the poor people and those who are in need. They have no mercy, no pity upon them. They don't care about them. Philanthropy, they don't know nothing about no philanthropy. Even those who are quote unquote philanthropists, you find most of them are philanthropists for their own benefit. They give charity what? So they get a tax break. They don't have to pay as much taxes. That's why they give these charities. Yeah, that's why they give to these charities and start these funds and so on and so forth, because it's a tax break. It's a way for them to keep more of their money. Wa'iyadu billah. So they don't know nothing about truly helping out. And when one looks at this, right? You look and you see how many of these individuals have really helped out the poor people and the ones who are in need. How many of them have seriously helped the poor people and those who are in need? Allah musta'an. The system is evil. How can a Muslim claim such a thing? وقوام اقتصادها على الربا الذي هو محارب لله ولرسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. And this system of capitalism, you will find that it is built, its economy is built and is based upon interest. Is built and is based upon interest, of which is in opposition to Allah and His Messenger. The system is built upon interest. Do we not see this capitalist system here? Is it not built upon interest? Yeah, subhanallah. Person, many things they tell you need a credit card if you want to do it. You want to do this, you got to have a credit score. You want to do this, you got to have so on and so forth. But what are all these things built upon? Credit card, credit score, riba, interest. All of it is interest. Person go to rent a car, he said, I got the money, is right here. Look how much it costs. The money's here. No, you need credit. You got to have interest. Yes. Person wanna rent a house. Want to rent an apartment. This capitalist system, what they tell you gotta have a certain amount of credit score, otherwise you can't rent from here. What do you mean? You see, I make enough. I can pay the rent every month 3 times over, no problem. No, but you don't got no credit history. Ya Salaam, how am I get credit history? I'm a Muslim, I don't deal with interest. That's not our way. What are all the signs of? Is that what our days here should be numbered? The system is not built for us. It's not built for the believers. It's not. This should be a motivation for all of us to really get our hijrah plans in order, to make hijrah to the lands of the Muslims. Naam, they're making it so here now is going to be like, yeah, subhanallah, what's next now? You need a credit score to rent a house, rent an apartment. What's next now? You're going to need a credit score to buy food from the grocery store? Allah musta'an. This is signs of what? It's time, you gotta get ready to go. Naam. Ala kulli hal, this is what this system is predicated on. Riba. In opposition to Allah and His Messenger. Allah Ta'ala, He says that what? He's at war with the one who take the riba and deal with the riba. The system is built upon it. Wa'iyadu billah. والذي هو دمار this riba دمار الدول والأفراد. It is that which it destroys states and nations and individuals. The financial crises and all that the people just went through 2008, that was all based upon what? Because of the bust of the interest-based system. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Destroying individuals and destroying nations. وَامْتِصَاصُ دِمَاءُ شُعُوبِ الْفَقِيرِ. And this riba, this interest-based system, the Shaykh says what? It sucks the blood of the poor people. It sucks the blood of the poor inhabitants, the poor ones. وَأَيِّ عَاقِلٍ. The Shaykh says, now who would an intellect فَضْوًا عَمَّنْ فِيهِ ذُرَّةٌ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. He said, now who with an intellect, not to mention somebody who has an atom's weight of faith in his heart, يَرْضَى أَنْ يَعِيشَ عَلَى هَذِهِ الْمَذَاهِبِ, who will be pleased to live his life upon these kafir ways. Bila aql wala deen, to live his life without using his intellect, without religion, no intellect, no religion, wala ghaya sahiha min hayatihi yahdufu ilayha wa yunadilu min ajliha. Not having any purpose, not having any goals, any aims, nothing to struggle toward. إنما غزت هذه المذاهب بلاد المسلمين لما غاب عن أكثريتها الدين الصحيح. These ways, they have raided and they have launched a war upon the Muslim lands once the vast majority of the occupants, and once the vast majority of the people had left the majority of the correct religion. نعم, had left, يعني غاب عنها أكثرية أو يعني عن أكثريتها الدين الصحيح. Once most of them have went away from their religion, then you find that these things they overcame us and they raided us and they and the like. وتربت على الضياع, and many of the people that have been raised upon loss. وعاشت على تبعية, and they are living their lives following after these systems because they are feeling they have an inferiority complex and the like, so they deem that they are in need of these systems and thus they are dependent upon these kafir systems, and they think that their way to success is by adhering to one of these kafir systems, whereas the reality is that the way of success is to stick into the deen of al-Islam. As the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned in the famous hadith, إِذَا تَبَيَعْتُمْ بِالْعِينَةِ, that when you deal with interest-bearing transactions, وَخَدْتُمْ بِأَهْنَابِ الْبَقَرِ, and you hold on to the tails of the cows, and to the end of it, that سَلَطَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ ظُلًّا, that Allah Ta'ala will put upon us humility, وَلَا تَرْجِعُ عَنْكُمْ حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا لَدِينِكُمْ, and that He will not remove it from us until we return to our religion. So the way to success is not by adopting these kafir systems, but rather the way to success is, as the Prophet ﷺ said, حَتَّى تَرْجِعُوا إِلَى دِينِكُمْ, until you return to your religion. So the way to success is returning to the deen of al-Islam, living our lives in accordance to the deen of al-Islam, being compliant to the deen of al-Islam. Second part, the Shaykh he mentions al-intima li ahzab al-jahiliyyah wal-qawmiyat wal-unsariyya. Naam. The Shaykh he says is joining parties of jahiliyyah, or joining racist based parties, or joining nationalistic based parties. Naam. And like the others, يعني هو الآخر يعني كفر والردة عن دين الإسلام. Such is apostasy from the deen of al-Islam, joining nationalistic systems and race-based systems and so on and so forth, and systems that are predicated upon racism and bigotry, and so on and so forth. And from these systems of jahiliyyah, then this too, joining such systems and such groups, then this constitutes as apostasy from the deen of al-Islam. ولكن we're going to get into this the next class بإذن الله تعالى. فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وجزاكم الله خيرا.